I slept with my daughter's ex-boyfriend, he got me pregnant, and I had an abortion. They got back together and got married. What?
This video is sponsored by Simply Safe.
There's no safe like Simply Safe. Okay, let's read some Reddit confessions that folks should have told no one. Not even a priest. Or Christ. Today we are playing a game. My girlfriend's brother, who helps me run my biz, went out and found me some confessions, and we are going to judge them and classify them as what they are. Are they sad? Are they embarrassing? Are they funny? Or are they I have stolen hundreds of dollars worth of water just by saying 5 words. My college has a food court in one of the main buildings. Chick-fil-A, sandwich place, salad bar, etc. You get your food and pay at the exit. Every single time I've eaten lunch there since I was a freshman, I grab a bottle of water with my meal, walk up to pay, and say I brought the water in. The employees aren't paid enough to care, and I pay enough in tuition to not feel bad about it. And I don't feel bad about it either. Number one, I think water should be free. It's still kind of crazy to me that we have to buy water. But two, if you're in college, it should be legal for you to steal from large corporations as long as it's under like $100. And if it's above that, like 100 to 500, a brush on the wrist, a wrist brush, if you will. That's all. Because college kids, they have no money. They live in like tiny dorms with white walls, white floors. The community shower always smells like wet moths for some reason. They're just ingesting all of these fungi. It's prison that you pay to come and go from. So this is fine to me. I'm gonna say that this is a scrumptious nothing burger. That's what this is. So
You're gonna have to give me something wild. I'm not heating up these hammies for nothing.
I broke up with my boyfriend because he yelled at me. Okay. I'm a 29-year-old woman. He and I dated for about 8 months. Our relationship was fine. We did things together. We had fun. There weren't any obvious red flags, but I always got this feeling that he didn't value me much. At times, he seemed a bit cold and acted like he was annoyed with me for no apparent reason.
I'm getting notes of crisis.
It all came to a head when 3 days ago, when we were hanging out at my place, he asked me to hand him the TV remote. I was sitting next to him on the couch and was working on my laptop. I reached for the remote without looking and accidentally handed him my phone instead. I thought it was funny after I realized what I had done. I laughed as I handed him the actual remote. He had the same annoyed look on his face. He began yelling at me and calling me a stupid bitch.
Put that phone back where you found it!
What? Over a clicker, huh? I was stunned. I have never raised my voice at him or disrespected him in any way. I did not deserve to be treated this way. I told him our relationship was over and asked him to leave. He told me to calm down and stop overreacting. I simply walked to the front door, opened it wide, and told him to get out and never come back. He walked out telling me I was being dramatic.
Okay, if that's dramatic, then what was that remote freak out? You little hussy.
The very next day, I returned the presents he had given me. They meant nothing to me now. My friends are telling me that I did overreact and I shouldn't just end a relationship because he yelled at me once and have asked me to patch things up. His friends, too, began harassing me on social media. I blocked them all. His friends, not mine. I'm not going to reach out to him to try to work things out, as some people have suggested, because I know that I do not deserve this treatment. I've always treated him with respect, and I deserve that in return. I just needed to tell somebody. Thank you for reading. I have teeny tiny little madmen like this in my family, and they just have this charisma that they can just flick on like a light. And that's the only thing they know them by. Everyone's like, oh, but he's so nice and he's so small. He's like a little nutcracker. I could just put him on my tree and for next year. But they don't see the rage. They don't see the fury that comes out of this tiny little body. And they fail to recognize that stuff like this just only gets worse. People on the outside don't see the inside. They don't see how you've been feeling on the inside either. Clearly, this person was feeling something was coming for a while. So I say good on you for not tolerating that and getting out of there. And the verdict, red flag.
Where'd you get your little attachable fold-out step for your big truck that you 100% have? Sears? It's just, I'm looking to get one on my SUV for my little nephew.
Wait, did you listen to those first two stories and not think about getting a home security system? That is a mistake. Thankfully, today's video is sponsored by
Simply Safe!
Scenario. You just broke up with your nutty significant other. You haven't heard from them in days. You think to yourself, wow, this real bag of dirt and fecal matter is actually going to leave me alone. This is a cause for celebration. So you open up a bottle of Chardonnay, you plop your peach on the couch, but then you hear a noise. You stand up. The front door flies open, and in walks your nutty significant other, a house key in hand that you didn't even know that they had. It was a secret copy.
A secret copy!
If you had a Simply Safe system like me, you would have been better protected. I've got indoor and outdoor cameras, a motion sensor at the front door, a panic button, and an app where I can watch the cameras in real time. I also have 24/7 lifeguard protection. Agents can respond to my motion sensor within 5 seconds, they can threaten the intruder from my indoor camera, and they can get all of the information to 911 responders so I don't have to do anything. Or you could just be like my friend Melvin. Hello! I hate my life.
Is that whole scenario about Melvin?
Oh, so if you want to beef up your security game, get 50% off your Simply Safe system, plus a free indoor camera, and a free first month when you sign up for core monitoring. Visit simplysafe.com/poynter and customize your setup. There's no safe like Simply Safe. Now back to the program. Confession. Before we started dating, I stalked my girlfriend for years. Jesus Christ, it's getting worse. Did he send these to me in order of severity? Like, are we gonna get a murder confession by the end of this? Me and my girlfriend, let's call her O, have been dating for the past year. She is beyond wonderful. Beautiful, kind, extremely caring, and a bit scary, especially when I neglect my own health. What? The sex is good, and her family had taken a liking to me. But deep down, no matter how much I try to kill it, I can't seem to wipe out the feelings of my guilt. My conscience keeps me up at night sometimes, telling me that I need to confess, that I don't deserve her. I don't want to feel guilt, and I don't want to regret anything. I hate these feelings because it's all worth it. She doesn't know at all that I was the one who stalked her for years before we got together. It all started back in our second year of high school. She tutored me when I was having trouble in physics, and from that moment, I was infatuated. I didn't work up the guts to confess to her at the time, probably because she was quite popular and I found her friends quite intimidating. They weren't bullies or anything, her friends were actually quite nice. I didn't know that at the time. So I turned to stalking. Everywhere O went, I would follow her. I would track her social media as well as her friends so that I would know about all of the locations she'd go to. Then I would just take pictures from a safe distance, making sure she didn't see me. I still have the box where I kept all of the pictures I took of her, as well as some maps and notes about her behavior, her likes, dislikes, and everything else I got from her. Eventually, the stalking escalated. I would then begin to steal her pens, write letters to her, and leave them at the side of her house. I'd steal her socks, shorts, handkerchiefs, and a shoe or two. I still wonder how the hell I got away with all of these. She eventually did suspect that somebody was stalking her, but thankfully she didn't know it was me. I learned how to cook for this girl. I started working out. Hell, I even learned Bengali so that her mom would like me. Okay, I don't like the fact that he used this girl with somebody that he's supposedly in love with. Can you at least use, like, you know, something like my darling or some kind of old English affectionate nickname that these stalkers always use? It got to a point where I tried breaking into her house to take pictures of the interior, but they had a dog, so I just bailed. Then, a while ago, she and her family went on a vacation to her mom's home country, India. And this may seem far-fetched, but I sort of tagged along. Wasn't that difficult to find where she was due to social media. Okay, goodbye. Oh, how do I get out of here? Bye! My God. I have absolutely no intention of harming her in any way. I swear to God himself that I cannot live without O in my life. Then a year ago, I finally worked up the guts to confess. O and I actually had a lot in common, and we eventually started dating shortly after. It was like a dream come true. But these feelings stirring inside me won't stop. I am planning on marrying O, and I don't want to ruin it anytime soon.
Oh, I loved your show on Netflix. Very good. I hated season 3 though. Just so boring. Made me feel like I took a Benadryl.
Everybody okay? I feel like I need some soup. Or like an Afghan or something. I feel like I'm developing an old illness, like typhoid fever. I'm just gonna say verdict, red flag. I'm terrified to know where this one's gonna end up. Met a random woman at a large corporate function and she confessed. Here's the murder one. Here we go. I was recently at a large corporate party with many people I didn't know from different offices around the country. I was making small talk with the wife of someone I didn't know, and she started making humorous complaints about her husband. Nothing serious, typical middle-aged marriage jokes. We're laughing, and she says, "We've never before, and we probably will never meet again, so can I tell you something I need to get off my chest?" I say sure, and she confesses that she had a years-long affair that ended about 2 years ago. I smile and say, "That's not uncommon and not so bad." Well, yes, it is so bad. Say something different, please. She then gets very serious and says, "That's not the bad part. He recently died of cancer, and she so wanted to see him before he died, but she couldn't. Her husband actually knew about the affair, but his wife never did. She was on the verge of tears, saying she couldn't even go to the funeral, but she did go to his grave afterwards. She couldn't talk to her husband about it. She couldn't talk to anyone. I asked her more questions, but she stopped me. She got herself together and left to join her husband. Before the evening ended, she talked to me again with other people around. Big smile on her face, saying, 'What a great, fun conversation we had.'" Huh? She asked to exchange numbers, which we did. She started texting me 2 days later, giving me a bit more details about the affair, explaining that she really loved the guy and missed him terribly, and then told me that her marriage was miserable and that she believes her husband is really gay.
This woman is messier than a barbecue plate in the back seat.
Okay, let me get this straight. She immediately went from small talk into confessing something most people have negative feelings about. She repeatedly distanced herself from her husband. She went from mentioning that you two would probably never meet again into asking to swap numbers, and then told you that her other lover was dying of cancer. And then she said that was a great and fun conversation. Brother, you are getting scouted. She is looking for affair number 2, and you are the prime talent at the moment in time. Please do not do this, mainly because it's wrong, but also because this woman is covered in red flags. I think everyone below the age of 25 sees this as a fun, exotic kind of adventure, but everyone older than that sees this kind of person as zero issue with using you, manipulating you, and blackmailing you to keep them from getting hurt or keep themselves out of trouble. You're making a deal with the Tasmanian devil. It's dangerous and it's wrong. And I kind of get the vibe you don't care and you kind of went through with it. Verdict, red flag. I paid a couple of girls to feign interest in my mate. I've got a mate who's nearly 30 now. To be honest, he's not a great looking bloke, but more importantly, he's had no experience with girls ever, which sucks because he's genuinely a great dude and maintains friendships with some girls, but he tends to friend zone himself before asking one out. He's suffered pretty hardcore anxiety and depression and hates going out. So this year at my birthday, one of the only events he'll come out for because he's a great bloke and knows what it means to me, I asked a couple of random girls if I could shout them a drink and they could just compliment my mate on something and have a small chat. No obligation to be anything but just polite and nice, and my lord, he's been a different dude ever since. His confidence has skyrocketed. He's even asking when we're going out next. If he ever found out what I did, I genuinely think he would never leave the house again. This is tough because I was where this dude is at mentally. Back in high school, I was a dork. I was very awkward and anxious, and I had no confidence in myself. And if one of my friends ever did something like this to me and I found out about it, I don't think I would have survived. I know the intent is there, but it comes with tremendous risk, dude. So I would say to this dude, you've got a good head on your shoulders, but, you know, it's just strapped to a bomb, and it might take several people out. So the verdict, what do I want to give this one? A confession with great intentions that is worth burning, nuking its ashes, and never speaking of ever again, so help me God, please, dear little Lord. I slept with my daughter's ex-boyfriend, he got me pregnant, and I had an abortion. They got back together and got married. What?
Okay, I'm turning myself into a taquito because I need to restrain myself.
No, you didn't. What? This is like a soap opera. We're about to read a Days of Our Lives script. This was back in, let me think, maybe 1997. I was 38 and my daughter was 18, and she was dating Harry, who was 24. I was an alcoholic and dabbled in other drugs, mostly cocaine. I was not a good person, let alone mother. Not like I was abusive to my daughter or anything, but I was generally inattentive and cared more about my alcohol and drugs than her, especially in her teen years. I am 14 years sober now. Inattentiveness is still abuse, but okay. I disapproved of my daughter dating Harry, but I never told her why. He would flirt with me constantly, and the age difference also creeped me out. Also, he was an alcoholic and drug user just like me. She broke up with him over his alcoholism. Soon after, she moved away. Not too far, but regardless, she didn't live with me anymore. Harry kept calling me and asking me if we wanted to get drinks. I turned him down, and then one day he said he had a bunch of coke, and I couldn't resist.
You two are getting me hotter than a $2 pistol.
He came over, we did the coke, and we ended up having sex. He was a very good-looking guy. He looked a lot like the ridiculous 80s Justin Bieber picture that was on the front page today. That is actually what made me think about him. Okay, please, I'm begging you, don't say anything more about his looks. That better be the last thing I see. For the next few months, maybe like 3 or 4 months, he would sometimes come over and we would have sex and do drugs and get drunk together. Any drug addict knows what that is like to have a drug addict buddy in that way. Then I got pregnant. I knew it was by him. I had sex without a condom a few times, stupidly. I never told him I was pregnant, and then I went and got the abortion and kept it a secret. Anyways, I stopped seeing him after that. It was too weird. I also got sober for like 4 months before relapsing. Fast forward 2 years, and my daughter contacts me and tells me that she got back with Harry and that he is fully sober. I was mortified, honestly. He was going to tell her that we slept together, and she is going to hate me for life. They came over one day, and I said hi. And when my daughter was gone, Harry told me there was no reason to tell her about what happened. I agreed.
Ugh, you guys are the worst. You're like a fart at a funeral.
I do not agree. By the way, just hello, I don't agree. It's been 16 years of marriage on their part. They have a kid together. Harry got cancer, then beat it. I got sober, that's basically it. I don't see them very often. They live in Texas and I live on the East Coast. But whenever I do, there is always that tension between me and Harry. It's literally the first thing that comes to either of our minds. I can just tell. Not like sexual tension, more like, why did we have to do that? What the fuck is wrong with us? Kind of tension. I think about this often, especially when I see my grandson. I always think that could have been my son if things had gone differently. But wow, what a disaster that would have been if I decided to keep that child.
Hell no, man.
Okay, I can't even comment on the actions themselves. It's so obvious how crazy it is. I mean, it's just, this would make a priest come through the confession booth screen and just, you know, let me do that again. What I will comment on is the daughter has to know. You're not protecting her by not telling her this stuff. You're protecting yourselves. She has been living a lie with this dude for 16 years. You have to tell her because she's currently not living a truthful life. And there's also no telling how many times this dude has done this. There's no way he's done it just once. He's definitely cheated on her many, many times. Both of you should be ashamed of the highest degree. Verdict, a red flag so big it would be able to caress the entire equator like a cozy quilt. Okay, this next story is actually a green flag wholesome one. I think we need a change of pace. This YouTuber had a comment on his video and it completely changed his entire life. One comment. And I think this is one of my favorite internet stories ever. And I'm just gonna tell it in a different place. Click the box in the top left-hand corner and I will see you over there. All right, toodles.